So now let's look at some of these and see what they do for us, okay? And remember, the point isn't just to enthuse about how much fun it would be to do this, how playful or how expansive, but actually to think about it seriously and relating to this part of our course. Okay, so Bernadette urges us to keep journals of answering machine messages. Why would that be? Why would that help? Molly? You don't have to be profound about it.
Not sure. I guess you'd get an interesting cross-section of people who you come in contact with and the things, the reasons why they're calling.
Max?
It's such a great instance of kind of an off-the-cuff quotidian monologue of somebody just like relating a message.
And what about the self?
Well, it's not you.
It's not you. It's very
people,
personal, but not you.
But it's not you, yeah.
That could be, I like that one. Here's a more serious one, relating back to the French symbolists of the 19th century. Systematically derange the language is the one. Why, Emily, systematically derange the language? Love that word, derange.
Yeah. Well, something systematic isn't really deranged.
Okay, you're pointing out the paradox, but
Cheap shot.
what it means is when you're doing your deranging, you're disorganizing, you're discombobulating, you're doing it systematically. What's the result of such a thing?
The result of derangement is deranged?
Yes, that would be the case. That's tautological. You're punting it. Okay, Amaris, what's the result of systematic derangement of the language?
Well, it's no longer conventional, so it forces us to read it in a different way, perhaps in what we'd consider a deranged way.
Okay, here's a related one. Systematically eliminate the use of certain kinds of words or phrases from a piece of writing. Eliminate all adjectives. Wasn't there a fourth grade teacher who told you to stop using so many adjectives?
Adverbs. I got yelled for adverbs.
You're an adverb. You have an adverb problem?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So why would anybody suggest eliminating your adjectives and your adverbs? Just in a conventional way.
Because it makes your language clunky. There's too much going on.
And what else does it do?
Those qualifiers aren't necessarily
They're
evocative.
not. They don't. They're dead. A lot of them are dead
Yes,
metaphors.
they are.
Right? There's more to this. Eliminate all adjectives from a poem of your own, or take out all words beginning with S in Shakespeare's sonnets. What would be the result of that, Dave?
Something unintended. It would create a different intent, and you would read it differently, and you would interpret it differently.
I know Shakespeare's sonnets not quite as well as the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, but I feel that relation to them, that I've sort of internalized them, and I think it would be good to see if I could get Shakespeare's language in a fresh kind of different way. I want it to be challenged. Get someone to write for you, pretending they are you. Allie?
Talk about a weird kind of perversion of the ego. I just think that would be really, really interesting in terms of, for both the kind of person who was being emulated and for the person who was trying to, imitate.
And in the case of Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas, that was a relationship of love. To do this in a relationship of love is really a challenge, right? I mean, I'm not sure how that book, the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, which was written by Gertrude Stein, I don't know how it originated. It's not even clear whether Alice had a lot of say in the matter, but there's something wonderfully defamiliarizing about that. Okay, there's a related one. Trade poems with others and do not consider them your own. Allie, back to you on that one.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most challenging kind of tasks. In the list, just because.
You write all night, and you wrote this thing, and it says what you want us to say, and you give it away, which challenges the whole notion of authorship. Yeah? Anything else to say about that experience?
Well, I guess it also kind of challenges what the point of poetry and art is in general. If, who does it belong to? Does it belong to the person who's in possession of it, whose hands it's actually in, or the person who came up with it? It's just, it's destabilizing, but also potentially
It's an issue of intellectual property in a way, because if you gave me a poem and you really gave me the poem, I could copyright it and it would be mine. I just thought I'd add that in there. I'm not sure what that means. Take an already written work of your own and insert at random or by choice a paragraph or section from a psychology book or a seed catalog. Anna, what's going to happen there? I mean, what is the point of that?
The point is to, I mean, let's say you have like a passage, already written work. Let's say you have like something from The Sun Also Rises. And then all of a sudden you have from a seed catalog.
What does a seed catalog do to a paragraph of The Sun Also Rises?
I mean, for one thing, it totally, it's such a radical jump from talking about,
Yes, it's definitely a radical jump. Thank you for
And
that.
it's super,
for that
it's super
observation.
jarring and defamiliarizing. It's like, what are you
What does
actually
it
reading?
defamiliarize?
The Sun Also Rises as you know it, but also the seed catalog, and also who the writer is that would put those two things together.
What does it defamiliarize? Amaris?
I think it just puts you in a whole other vocabulary system.
Another vocabulary system, another genre, another sort of set of assumed facts. It kind of calls into question the fictive quality of what Hemingway is doing. Write what cannot be written. Max, what cannot be written? Give me an example of what cannot be written.
What cannot be written? There are certain feelings we have that we cannot express. We feel like we
that.
cannot
I don't think
adequately
Bernadette Mayer
express.
meant that. That sounds too squishy for her. The example she gives is an index. And I've written indexes, but the only reason you write an index is if you've written a book and what a strange experience writing an index is. You are alphabetizing every phrase or key word in a 250-page book. Write what cannot be written. I think what she means is write what you typically don't write and call writing.
Write first what you would normally write afterwards.
Nice. Find the poems you think are the worst poems ever written, either by your own self or other poets. Study them, then write a bad poem. Allie, start us out.
I just think that the longer you've been kind of studying poetry, the harder it is to actually do that because...
To write a bad poem.
Well, no, not even, but to write a poem that is just 100, it's just hard to it is hard to get away from intention or to get away from, all the possible interpretations. And even, writing something kind of, when I tried to do this, it just ended up being really kitschy, but that's kind of one of the whole things in Flarf. So
Flarf, F-L-A-R-F, what's that?
It's, it was an internet.
Did you say was?
It is. Well,
I know, I think it might be over. Who's to know? But Flarf was a movement of deliberately kitschy, bad writing, typically taken from Google searches and
Right.
so forth.
So, Googleisms, for example, where you might just search a word and see just all of the kind of immediate language that comes up.
Pizza goes postal. Is the famous one.
There's some pretty famous ones drawn from crapola headlines from the Midnight Express or whatever, Midnight Star. Emily is so happy we're not doing a Flarf poem. It would be, but actually we are. We're sort of doing a proto-Flarf poem in chapter 9.3. Mike McGee's My Angie Dickinson, which is obviously riffing off My Emily Dickinson. But My Angie Dickinson, well, we'll talk about that another time. Write a work gazing into a mirror without using the pronoun I. Go ahead, Max. What's that going to be like?
Well, we've already been talking a little bit about challenging your own authorship and authority with language and challenging your own ego, and so it's very difficult to have to
Look in the mirror.
to stare
Look
at
literally.
yourself and essentially not evoke yourself. I mean, you will necessarily, but to avoid that pronoun, identifying yourself, saying I do this.
This is a moment where we can say something general about what Bernadette Mayer is trying to get us to do. Would you want to take a shot at it?
Well, I think I started to get at it a second ago. That she's encouraging us to write without getting hung up on the ideas of intent and authorship and ourselves and what are our words and what we want to express and what we can express, but rather to write. And that's what all of these exercises are here for, to just get you to start writing.
Yeah, good. And don't you, when you read these, feel like you want to just quit this discussion and go write? Dave, don't you feel like you want to write?
Absolutely.
I think we can be very productive. Let's look at two more really quickly. Take a traditional text like the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For every noun, replace it with one noun that is 7th or 9th down from the original one in a dictionary. And this is this famous n+7 or n+9, mostly n+7. So what results? Emily, you take a noun and you move down the dictionary and you somewhat arbitrarily, but systematically replace it.
Well, it's sort of avoiding the Pledge of Allegiance, just scrambling that sort of immemorial significance, immemorial meaning, but not in a random, arbitrary way, not in a way that's purposefully subversive.
So unpurposely, non-intentionally defamiliarizing the most familiar phrase for Americans, one of the most familiar phrases. Good, and we're going to be looking at an n+7 poem in the next section. What is it? Rosemary Waldrop's poem, Shorter American Memory of the Declaration of Independence. So that should be a lot of fun. Okay, finally, attempt to write in a way that's never been written before. Let's have a couple comments on this. Anna, what's it mean?
Write in a way that's never been written before. I mean, it's a little bit like what she said earlier about write what cannot be written.
Yes, but it's stated in the positive. What's she saying, Amaris?
Well, it seems to point us to writing in an original sense, but since we're moving towards the uncreative poets,
We are
it
moving in this
seems-
course to uncreativity, unoriginality, and here's Bernadette Mayer saying, write in a way that's never been done before. How do those two things square? Is she an outlier in the movement toward unoriginality? I don't think so.
Well, I think uncreativity is meant ironically, right? So we're saying that we're going to
Be creative
recycle
by being
language,
uncreative, yeah.
but by recontextualizing it, not
Okay.
by keeping it. And it's,
This is a chance to say something big about the course. Anybody want to try it?
No pressure.
No pressure at all. What did the chapter 2 poet say?
Make it
Make it new. And she is saying, write in a way that's never been written before. This is a good chance for us to remind ourselves that no matter how our contemporary poets push toward unoriginality, toward collaging language that's already been written, toward allowing us to hear the ambient language that's already out there, reformatting newspaper articles and transcripts of press conferences, in terms of FLARF, just sort of setting up a Google search and using that language. No matter how they're moving in that direction, they are still seeking the how you say what you say is more important than what you say. The how of that, they're seeking newness in the how, not in the what. They're seeking newness in the how. This is a continuity from modernism. It's excited, it's utopian, it believes in the new. It's what gets Bernadette Mayer up in the morning because she's going to do something that's never been done before.